Would you believe me if I told you that a primitive and aggressive tribe which has been far behind the technology for 60,000 years still exists today? And what if I told you that there was a man who has decided to visit this land, where it would take courage to even pass close to be alone? How do you think this murderous and aggressive tribe agreed to this bravament? I'm going to tell you first about North Sentinel tribe, and then about the fate of the American missionary John Allen Chau, who tried to gather real enough for a purpose. If you're ready, let's start. When you think about how far technology came today, you might think that there would be no community as that they've not been contacted. But you're wrong. Because a theory area over 100 communities living in various parts of the world that they've never been contacted, and they live without effects of technology. But without a doubt, the most famous and the most dangerous of them is the Sentinel tribe, which lives on the North Sentinel Island. This tribe, which lives on the North Sentinel Island, located above the Bay of Bengal in India, has isolated themselves from the outside world for more than 60,000 years, and they are believed to be descendants of the first people who migrated from Africa. Observation planes will pass over the mysterious land shout us that these people are still using Stone Age tools. They talk a language that none can understand. Since they have no idea of livestock and agriculture management, they still provide themselves with hunting and gathering. Since they have not discovered how to make a fire yet, they eat everything raw. Because they are isolated, we have no idea of their culture, beliefs and lifestyle. The only thing we know of them is their brutal approach to outsiders. Doing a naked word and seeing really when approached, the tribe chased and killed curious people who would try to contact them with bows and spears. But is this aggressiveness is in their nature? Or do they have a reason to be so? Can we be more murderous and savage than these people? I ask this question because so play a role in their aggressiveness. We killed 2 people from their families. But why? In 17th and 18th centuries, the British Empire were trying to colonize every place they went to, thinking that world belonged to them. And they had developed an interesting system to conquer the territories of these isolated tribes. First, they would kidnap some of the members and treat them variously and give them some gifts and then send them back to their tribe. The abductees then would tell their tribe about the British and announce them as a non-threat. After lowering their guards, they would be occupied without being able to resist. British, Holland had taught her this plan on Sentinel stew, met with something they didn't think. It all began in 1880 when naval officer Maurice Portman made the first contact with this land. Portman saw a group of people shooting towards them. After that, the island became an obsession for Portman, who was doing research on the island. He had to somehow get in touch with this land and secure their safety. He immediately set to work, and after managing to enter this land with a gang of Indian and English prisoners next to him, Portman and his gang, however friendly to the tribe, somehow managed to gain the trust of the tribe. You can see the photo he took with him here. After leaving this land, Portman visited this land for the second time. And things escalated during the second visit. Portman and his team kidnapped 2 old and 4 children tribe members. But this time the situation did not develop as they had planned. The people they kidnapped begged and Tajit sickened for some incomprehensible reason. Portman and his team realized that they would not be able to secure tribe safe and left the surviving children on the island and food. This incident ignited a great enmity because Sentinel Pleito form a great hatred against the people in the outside world. After the incident, Sentinelese native Esselways took a ruthless approach to outsiders. Onedi, despite the fact that it is forbidden, two people who and fishing around the island get drunk and decide to sleep on the boat, thinking that they would not be able to return. Unfortunately, at night, the wolves dragged the boat to the island of North Sentinel. And the tribe, seeing this, came running from the forest and brutally slaughtered two fishermen. The helicopter sent by the Indian government to retrieve the bodies of the fishermen was powered with arrows, and they had to return before they could retrieve the bodies. In 1981, a large cargo ship with a crew of 50 people got stuck on a rock on the shore of Sentinel Island. Seeing a group doing a naked wardens with bows in their hand on the shore, the crew panicked. Fortunately, the crew was rescued by a helicopter, which responded to their help calls. However, the ship was left to Sentinel tribe. It was the first time they had such a thing. What were they going to do with this ship? According to estimates, this ship and its materials had moved them from stone age to Iron Age. For example, they could have made types from iron they got from the ship. And they might have developed man-offensive weapons like these. So it was more difficult than before to approach the tribe that jumped in a raft of the shipwreck. But there was a person with courage. John Allen Chau. John, an American evangelical missionary, was a devout Christian. John, who was only 26 years old, was an adventurous young man. He was upset with his tribe, which lived abstract life from the outside world, and he had a very dangerous mission for himself. He wanted there to be a place on earth that did not know the Creator, that did not know about the heaven and hell. He had almost fallen in love with this tribe, which he first saw in a textbook. He must contact this tribe and tell them about Jesus and convey to them his religion, Christianity. Knowing they had never met an religion before, he considered Sentinel Island to be the last stronghold of the devil. But he also knew that this task was not an easy task at all. He had to do his homework. He didn't want to experience the events that happened to people who had gone there before. So he worked on a plan for years. John, who had read Robinson Crusoe stories in his childhood, had two great passions in life. The first was adventure in nature and the second was Jesus. And he started developing his plans. He quit his job and gave himself to this task. He had to educate himself good. First, he attended national outdoor leadership courses and began educating himself. Since there was no info about Sentinel's language, he took some linguistics courses, thinking that it would help him communicate with them. He read books that he thought would prepare him for the island. These were some missionary biographies, linguistic books and books on cultural anthropology. He received pieces of training as an emergency medical technician and kept fit by exercise and jewelry. In order to be prepared for the worst, he spent his 3 summers in a small cabin in the USA working as a guard and an emergency nurse. He then attended a training camp that had a fake village for chemicals in it. The people who were in this camp were a missionary group. John joined force with All Nations Group, a group which sent Christian missionaries to 40 countries. During the training, the locals were staging mock attacks with fake spears. And John was learning how to survive the sea attacks. When the date came in October of 2018, John Flototheclosescitito in North Sentinel Island after getting 13 vaccinations for himself and settled fear. Knowing thank the tribe's immune system is weaker thanners, he had these vaccines off the tribe would get sick from. He felt an incredible love for Slickles, he didn't want any harm to commit him. He was vaccinated against all kinds of diseases and he underwent lasery surgery, thinking that he would not be able to keep his lenses clean. In order to not carry a germ to his land from the outside, he quarantined himself in his house and didn't contact anyone. On November 14, 2014, John had set out alone to perhaps the most dangerous land in the world, never to return, as none had ever dared before. So how would John get out this land, which was forbidden by the Indian government to approach? Of course, John had thought of that, too. He had bribed a fisherman with $30,000 he had saved in his life to meet a convince the Montagata this land by forbidden routes. When it got dark, they quietly made their way to this land. When they approached the shore, the fisherman refused to go further out of fear. From this point on, John would continue his path by jumping into a kayak. He was thinking about the trainings he received for about 8 years, and he was excited. He was about to arrive at the island he had dreamed of for years. He took off his clothes so as not to be perceived as a foreigner by the locals. Right when he came across those handsome yellow-painted face appeared among the trees. John yelled, "My name is John, I love y'all," while inside the boat. A boy among the tribe shot an arrow at John. John had a Bible in his hand and the arrow hit the Bible. With the arrows that followed, John fell into Thesia. And the locals confiscated his boat. He had to swim to the fisherman's boat, which was 1.5 kilometers away. John, who had to spend the night on the ship, wrote, "I'm scared," in his diary. But the brawl he had mustn't have scared him. He had no intention of giving up. The prayer he wrote to his diary was very emotional. "Lord, if I get killed with the locals, please forgive them." After he spent the night on the boat, John tried again in the morning. When he went there for the second time, he was never heard from again. The returning fisherman was arrested and sent to prison. According to the fisherman's statement, John was dragged by the locals with a rope tied around his feet. This incident caused a huge national outcry, and all the newspapers talked about John. Although his family wanted to bring his body, the authorities refused it because they considered it dangerous, and the case was closed. Along with a closed file, many mysteries and question marks about this land and the locales remain unanswered. What is behind the dense trees that were seen in drone footages? What was hidden? How did the people of Thailand know about tsunami that hit Thia's land after the big earthquake that took place in the Indian Ocean in 2004 in advance? Sought had they moved to the hillsides of Thia's land to avoid drowning? Of course, we'll probably never know the true answers to these mysteries. No one will ever know these secrets other than the locals, or maybe except John if he is still alive.